My name is Piyush and welcome to another video in the series of Namaste Google Cloud, where I will be publishing GCP videos every week. In this particular video, I will demonstrate how you can provision a Linux and a Windows-based virtual machine using Gcloud SDK via Cloud Shell and using Google Cloud Console. Please watch the complete video as we will be doing some knowledge checks at the end with some sample exam questions if you are planning for Associate Cloud Engineer certification. If you are new to my channel, please hit the subscribe button below and the bell icon to get notified about all my upcoming videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I'll be covering below topics in today's video. The first one would be how you can create a Linux virtual machine using Cloud Console. Then how would you SSH into that Linux instance? Then I will create a Linux virtual machine using Gcloud SDK. And then we will create a Windows VM instance using Cloud Console. Then we'll see how do we RDP into the Windows VM that we have just created. And as promised, we will be doing some knowledge checks at the end, where we will be looking into some sample questions if you are planning for Google Cloud Associate certification exam. So now that we have logged into our Google Cloud Console, I'll go over here in this section where it says Compute Engine and look for VM instances. I'll click over there. And the first thing that will ask me is to enable the Compute Engine API. Remember, when you are using any GCP service for the first time, you have to enable the API associated with it. Like if you want to use GKE for the first time or Cloud IAM, you have to enable its respective API. So for this particular service, I have to click over here to enable the Compute Engine API. Without enabling the Compute Engine API, I wouldn't be able to use the Compute Engine service. So once the Compute Engine API is enabled, you will see the screen something like this, where you have an option to create the instance or import the VM or refresh, and all other options are visible, and you could go ahead and create your first instance. So to create an instance, click over here, create instance, and then give this a name. Let's call it test VM Linux. You could add labels as well over here. And based on the default configuration, the one that you see over here, you will see the monthly estimate pricing for this. So if you are using a GCP trial account or a free tier account, all the regions and all the VMs are not supported with that. So make sure you watch my previous video which I have posted earlier. I'll put the link in the description section below as well as in the title bar, and it will show you the different limitations that it has. For example, only few regions and few machine types are covered under the free tier. So I'll select the US West one, which is what I know is one of those regions. I could choose the zone as per my needs. So let's use this one, US West 1A. Over here, we have different machine families. It's been categorized in general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, or GPU. And the series is this one. So if you select compute optimized, you'll see the option as C2 and C2D. If you use memory optimized, then you'll see M2, M1, and M3, and so on. So there are different categories of these machine families. So I'll go ahead in the first one, which says general purpose, and I'll use the E2 family. And inside that, I'll use the machine type as micro. So only E2 micro is covered under GCP free tier account, and it will have one shared core of vCPU and 1 GB of memory, which should be sufficient for our demo. And over here you'll see the monthly estimate have gone down from $28 per month to $7 per month. But this charge also will be covered under the credit that you get from the GCP free tier account. So to verify the same that you are covered under this, you scroll down at the bottom of the page and you'll see your free trial credit will be used for this VM instance. Okay, so we are good till here. We have selected a region, zone, and then series and machine type. Now these are some of the options, whether you want to use it as a recording tool or a screen capture device. I don't need it at this moment. Then there is a concept of confidential VM service. We don't need that as well. You could deploy your container images on top of this VM. I'll skip this for now. Then in the boot disk section, you have the option to select the VM image that you want to use. By default, it is Debian GNU Linux 11. So I can change it by clicking over here, change button. I could choose my operating system from Linux based or Windows server. Currently Mac is not supported. So I'll choose Ubuntu from here, and you could just leave the default version, or you could select from any of the available versions. Then there is this boot disk type, whether you want to use a balanced persistent disk, extreme SSD, or standard persistent disk, and the size is 10 GB. Okay, so I'll use the default configuration. There is this option to use custom images as well, but we haven't created any images or snapshot yet. That is why it won't be visible for us. And here you'll see different snapshot if we would have created it already. So it's not there. Okay, so I'll just select the configuration that we have set for the public image. Then there'll be a service account created by default with the VM. So this would be the name of it, or you could just select no service account if you don't want to create the service account. I'll keep the default one. And then it has access scopes, which defines how your VM will interact with other GCP services. So I'll select the default access, but there is an option to select full access to all cloud APIs. That means Compute Engine API will be able to communicate with all the APIs that is available for us to consume, or you could select the particular API that you would want to use. Okay, so these are the different options available for that. Let's say if you want to use Cloud SQL, then it says none or enabled. If you want to use storage, then it says if you want to have read only access, write only access, read write, or full access. So you could define the level of access as well as the type of API that you would want to use. So I'll keep it default as well. Then in this firewall option, we could select if we want our application to be available over HTTP or HTTPS port. Like if you have installed a web application on your VM and it will be publicly available for the users to consume, then you could allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic. Right? Then we have this option which says networking disk security management and sole tenancy. You could expand it by clicking over here. We will be doing a deep dive into the networking section in a separate video. So let's continue from here. There is an option to add the additional data disks. Currently, the VM only has one boot disk attached to it, which we have selected. And you could use to select this one, which says add new disk. Okay, you would give it a name, description. You select if it's gonna be a blank disk, that means you have to format it and make it usable, or you would want to create it from a disk image or a snapshot, right? Then the disk type, so these are the same disk type that we have seen before. Okay, disk size, it could be anything between 10 GB to 65,536 GB. Optionally, you could create a snapshot schedule as well to make sure that your data in the persistent disk is getting backed up regularly. Then you select your encryption type, whether you want to use a Google managed encryption key, a customer managed encryption key, or a customer supplied encryption key. Then you could select the deletion rule. This is really important. So when deleting instance, there are two options: keep disk or delete the disk. By default with the data disk, keep disk is enabled. That means even if you delete your GCE instance, the additional data disk associated with it would not be deleted. It will still be there. So you'll still be getting charged for it, and it will be there for you to use in the future until and unless you explicitly delete it. So you could change the behavior of it by clicking over here, delete disk. So this particular deletion rule is different for the boot disk and for the additional data disk. So for data disk, it is selected as keep disk. However, in the boot disk, it is selected as delete disk. All right. And once you fill all the details, you could click over here, save. I'm not gonna do that for now. So I'll just close this pop-up. The next one is security section. In this security section, you could select how you would want your user to connect to the VM. By default, when you connect to a VM using this console or using the Gcloud SDK, your SSH keys are automatically generated. So this is the default authentication and authorization mechanism. But you could use other permissions as well, which says control VM access through IAM permission. You could create a IAM role, attach it to a user or a group of user, and that would be used for your authorization or authentication. And you can also enable the MFA over here, multi-factor authentication, or you could go ahead over here and add manually generated SSH keys. You use a third party tool to generate the keys and then you upload the keys. Then we have management option where you could add your user data script, like a startup script which will be executed after your VM is started. So you add the commands like this, apt-get update or apt-get install nginx. So if you do that, these two commands will be executed once the VM is up. So this is what startup script will do. Then you could add your metadata over here. It is basically a key value pair where you add the item, you enter the key and the value. Then on this next section, which says availability policy, you could select your VM provisioning model. The options are standard or spot. Standard is the by default policy that is available. But if you go with the spot, you will see a drastic decrease in the monthly price estimate. It was earlier 7 dot something dollars and now it is just $2.83. This is because the spot instances or the preemptible instances comes with a lot of limitations. You could go over here in this link, which I'll provide in the description section, and you can read about all the instance limitations. So the first one is compute engine might stop preemptible instances at any time due to the system events. So these are not highly available or this would not be running all the time. So if your application is running batch workload that can be restarted at any time, only then it is suitable for you. Then compute engine always stops preemptible instances after they run for 24 hours. So 24 hours is the maximum, lifetime of a preemptible VM. Then they might not always be available and it is not covered under service level agreements and are excluded from compute engine SLAs. And the Google Cloud free tier credits for compute engine does not apply to preemptible instance. So make sure you read all those things and see if this preemptible VM is a suitable choice for you. Right. So I'll just choose standard again. Then it says on host maintenance. When your compute engine performs periodic infrastructure maintenance, it can migrate your VM instance to other hardware without downtime. So this says what you want to do in that case. So if you want to migrate to a VM instance, which is a recommended, or you would want to terminate the VM instance. So you can select this option. And then there is this automatic restart. Again, if you want to have your VM restarted in case there was some system crash or a hardware failure or a software failure, or if you want to keep it off, then you can use that as well. And if you scroll up, you can verify all the details that you have looked into. And if you could go back to this section, boot disk, and click on change and click over here, show advanced configuration, you will see the option of deletion rule here as well. This is the same one that we saw in the additional data disk section. The only difference is that the default option over here is delete boot disk. That means the boot disk, boot persistent disk will be deleted when you delete the VM. Okay, so make sure you know what this is all about. So once I verify everything and once everything looks good to me, I could click over here, create instance, cancel it, or generate the equivalent command line. So if I click over there, this is a Gcloud create VM command that you could use if you want to provision your VM from the command line. So I'll just copy it from here and close it. And I just keep this command handy when we'll be provisioning the instance from Gcloud SDK. For now, I'll click on create instance. And it'll just take a couple of minutes and the VM will be created for you. So I'll just pause the video for a brief moment and we'll come back to see. Alright, so our VM is now up and running. You'll see the status is green and is running. The name was this. It was provisioned in this zone that we selected. It has an internal IP and an external IP associated with it and a network interface card. You could log into this VM by any of the following methods: using a new browser window or on a custom port, or you could use a user provided SSH keys, or you could use a Gcloud command to SSH into the instance, or use another SSH client like Putty or Mobaxterm. Right. So one way is you click over here and it'll open a pop-up for you. It'll transfer the SSH key to the VM. It'll automatically generate those keys and then transfer it to the VM. And then it'll establish the SSH connection with the VM. So once you do that, you'll be logged in. And let's say if you want to see the host name of this server, you could do a hostname -i, and the internal IP is 10.138.0.2. If you go back over here, this is the same one, 10.138.0.2. So this is how we logged into this particular server. If you want to use the Gcloud command to do the SSH, click over here, you say view Gcloud command, copy the command from here. It basically has the details Gcloud compute, SSH, and then specify the zone in which the VM was provisioned, name of the VM, and the project in which the VM was created. I just copied it. You could run it in a Cloud Shell from here, or if you can just close the window and click over here, activate Cloud Shell. It will open a new Cloud Shell window for you at the bottom of the screen over here. And the command that I have copied before, I'll just paste it over here and hit enter. It'll ask you to authorize or reject the credential request. I'll click over to this, authorize. Do you want to continue to generate the SSH keys? I'll click yes and then hit enter once more. And then it will create a SSH metadata key for you. Okay, I'm in the server and you could verify again with hostname -i 10.138.0.2. This is our internal IP of the VM. All right, let's do an exit on this. And now we'll try to create a new VM with the Gcloud SDK. So I'll just clear the screen. And then the command that I've copied before, I'll just change the name over here because this VM was already created. So I'll give it a name test VM2-Linux, and rest of the details I'll keep it same. I'll just delete the service account as well because this service account was also created already. And then I'll update the device name as well to test VM2-Linux. And when I've verified everything is as per what we wanted to provision, I'll just copy this command from here and I'll paste it over here in the Cloud Shell and hit enter. Okay, It will provide you these details like this VM was just provisioned in this particular zone. Type is E2 micro. This is non-preemptible. That is why this field is blank. Internal IP is 10.138.03 and this is the external IP. Let's see if it is present over here. Earlier there was just this one VM. If I hit refresh, you would see other VM as well, which is test VM2. This is what we have just created and this is the internal IP. If we want to do SSH, you just copy the Gcloud command, click over here and go down. I'll clear screen one more time and I'll paste the command Gcloud compute SSH with the test VM2 Linux as the VM instance. Hit enter and again it will add that keys. Okay, I'm in the server. Let's clear the screen and verify the hostname. Hostname -i. This is 10.138.03. So this is our VM2. We have verified it. Now to delete the VM, you just select the VM. Okay, and click over more action and delete. Are you sure you want to delete these two instances? If you click on delete, it will be deleted. And this will also delete two boot disk because the delete disk option on those VMs was enabled. So that is why those boot disk will also be deleted. Let's say someone accidentally clicked on this. Let's just unselect these two. Let's say someone accidentally did that and deleted the VM. Click over here and it will be deleted, right? But you would want to avoid someone accidentally deleting this particular VM. So what you will do, you go to this VM and you click over edit and then you enable this option, enable deletion protection. When you do this, instant would not be deleted unless you uncheck this option and save the configuration again. So let's try this. Let's enable this and click on save. Okay, let's go back and let's try to delete the VM again. I'll select the VM, click over here, more actions. And now you won't see the option to delete. It is grayed out because the deletion protection is enabled on this particular VM. Now that we have seen how to provision and manage Linux-based VM, let's use the same method to provision a Windows-based VM and RDP into it. So I'll click again over here, create instance, give it a name, test VM Windows. I'll again use the same region. Okay. And I'll select the machine type as E2 micro. I'll go over here to the boot disk option and I change the operating system to Windows Server. And I'll select the option Windows Data Center, which would support a graphical user interface. So this one over here, which says server with desktop experience, I'll click over here. And by default, it will have the balanced persistent disk of size 50 GB. Earlier it was 10 GB. And if you see, the delete boot disk is also enabled because this is the boot disk. Had it been a data disk, then this option would have been keep boot disk, but we can always alter the behavior as per our needs. So I'll keep it default because I would want this disk to be deleted once the VM is deleted. Select this. I'll verify everything. I'll keep everything as default. I'll allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic. I'll click over here and these options will also be the same. Click create. Once this Windows VM is provisioned, we'll see how we log into that VM because it will be a little different than of Linux VM. We don't SSH to the Windows VM, we do a RDP. So let's see what are the steps of doing it once the VM is up and running. In the meantime, I'll just go ahead and delete this test VM. but I wouldn't be able to delete it directly because I have enabled the termination protection. So I'll just disable it first. So I'll go into the VM and edit, and I'll uncheck this box over here, click save, go back to VM instances again and click over here and then delete. Now it will be deleted. Now it's showing me this particular error in the notification which says Windows VM instances are not included in the free trial. To use them, first enable billing on the account. You'll still be able to apply your free trial credit to eligible product and services. That means I wouldn't be able to use it with the Windows VM unless I enable the billing. So let's go to the billing dashboard. I'll open this in a new tab. Search for billing. So over here, I could either upgrade from here, or over here, I could just activate it because Windows VM is not included in the free trial account. So I have to upgrade my account. I would still have that balance remaining with the credit, which is 385 Canadian dollars, that I could still use it with the services that are eligible to be used in free trial. So I click over here, upgrade, hit activate, and it says activated successfully. Continue. Now I'll go back to my compute engine, VM instances. I just go over here in the notification and click retry on the failed notification, and it will just resume the service from there. Okay, so the Windows VM is also being provisioned. It has an internal IP and an external IP. To do a login to this Windows VM, we have the option to RDP. If you click over here, it will ask you to connect using the RDP client. So you would have to first download the RDP file if you will be using a third-party client. So you click over here and a RDP client will be downloaded for you. You first have to set the Windows password. So this is the prerequisite. So click over here. You use a username or select the one that is already been given to you. Hit set, and then there'll be a password generated for you. So you copy it and hit close. Okay, so you have set the Windows password. You could set it from the Gcloud command as well. So once you reset the Windows password, you download the RDP file and you edit the file. So I'll click over here, show in folder, and then I'll edit it. Okay, and make sure you add port 3389 after the colon at the end so that it will try to connect on that port. You hit save and then connect. Then it will ask you to enter the password that was generated for you. So I'll just paste the password over here, hit OK, and then I'll say connect me to this. Alright, so here it is. You are successfully logged into your Windows VM that you created, and it comes with pre-installed Google Cloud SDK shell. Alright, now that we have seen the basics of GCE, now let's have a look at some sample questions that could be asked in the exam. You can pause the video after all the questions are printed on the screen, and let me know in the comment section below if you know answer of these questions. Here is the first question. After navigating to GCE and then VM instances for the first time in a project, what is the next step you perform to create a VM instance. What are the different ways to perform SSH into a Linux GCE virtual machine? First step you perform to log in into a Windows GCE VM. How to prevent the accidental termination of a VM? By default, boot disk will be deleted once you delete the instance. Is that statement true or false? What type of VM availability option you would choose for a bad job, which is not time sensitive and can be resumed after the failure? Remember, the solution should be cost effective. So let me know in the comment section below if you know answer of any of those, or if you want me to provide you the answer. So that's it for this video, guys. I'll see you soon with the next video. I hope this video was somewhat helpful to you and you would have enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe and share the video as much as possible. And I'll see you next week with another video. Thank you for watching.